everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation, Country Craft Creations. Today I have a full walkthrough, and then to follow that we'll go into the tutorial on how I made this album. So this is a great collection. I don't have a cover sheet, but I do have the sticker sheet. This is Cowboys by Carta Bella, and this is my design team project for Country Craft Creations. And super cute collection. Love it, love it, love it. Don't have a whole lot left over, so I'm kind of toying with some different ideas about what to do for a second project, but this is a big project and it's going to hold a lot of pictures. So this came about because one of my crafty subscribers, Marilyn B, asked me to do a configuration album with 8.5 by 11 paper because she doesn't get 12 by 12s very often, and I thought, well, I can totally do that. So this is actually kind of almost a remake of my summer configurations album that I had done in a previous design team tutorial. So I'll put a link to that below. But I did do a few things different in here. We've got some different closures for things, and you're going to see when I do my walkthrough and then when I do my tutorial, there's a couple things that I did that I kind of goofed on, but I made it work. So I got everything done and it is beautiful. You're going to love it. So we're going to have you're going to get to see how I goofed up, and then you're going to get to see how I fixed it, and you're going to love it. So do watch the tutorial before you make the book. You know, I never make anything as I'm watching it. I always watch the video first and I take notes and, you know, write things down, and then I go back and make the project because then, you know, I've seen it before. So that's my hint and tip for watching the tutorials. Okay, so let's get on with this. So this album is 5 by 7. It has a 2.5-inch spine. Look at this paper. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I did ink all of the edges, and I got some new ink from Country Craft Creations. This is Altenew Espresso Fresh Dye ink, and I used it as a distress ink, and it worked fantastic. So I just got my little sponge dauber and went to town with it. I also got shaker bits, these Shimmer Desert Sky shaker bits, and I was trying to think about how I was going to use that with the cowboy theme, but I think it turned out really nice. So I'm going to show you how I made this shaker bit here, and this is a standalone kind of piece, so you can make this, and then I suggest you put it off to the side and then make your cover, and when you do all the insides and get it all done, put that on last and decorate the cover last. I didn't do that in the tutorial, and I wish I would have, and I talk about that. So that was one of the little goofs that I made. These flowers here, I will show you how to make those. I did get, and I purchased this a little bit ago. I just got it a couple days ago, actually. Paper Rose Studio dies from Country Craft Creations, and I use those to make flowers with my scraps, and I'll have a tutorial bit in this tutorial about how I made those flowers. They turned out really pretty. So we've got the shaker cover. I just love that. We've got kind of a floral theme here, but we also have the cowboy hat and the guitar there. And then I did put, I hope you can see this, I'm going to stand up a little bit so you can see. I did put a little sticker here, Ranch Life, and then do you see the little shaker bits that I glued on here to kind of decorate that corner up a little bit? So that was a little fun to do, but I did it, and I used some of the little dots in the shaker bits, the clear gems, in the flower centers too. So I utilized those in a couple different ways. It has a tie closure here, so when you open this up, again, this is a configurations album, so what I ended up doing was taking the paper, which is the coffee felt brown Artisan cardstock. That's the base of all of my pages. And I cut it down to 8.5 by 11, and then I'm going to show you how to put it together. So all of these pages, there's actually 5 in here, and I'll explain that in a minute, but this only took 5 pieces of paper to create all these flips and flaps and pockets and everything. You're going to love this. Okay, so to start, I got a new little way to close for a waterfall. So underneath here, I've got one of my stacked waterfalls. You kind of can't see it. It looks like a belly band. But there's a pocket here. In the pocket, I put one of the cut aparts, and then I put one of the tags from the die, or from the bits and pieces pack that I got with the collection. I tied a little bit of the double-sided seam ribbon through that, not seam binding. I say seam binding all the time, so if I do, I'm sorry. It's ribbon. No seam binding in this album this time. And then I took one of the cut aparts and I did cut a little bit off each side. I cut 1/8 of an inch off each side of the cut aparts, and then I backed it on a piece of cardstock, and I put a little sticker from the collection up there for the tag. So then this will open up. This is sized for a cut apart, and it opens up, makes a photo mat there. This little pocket opens down, makes a photo mat, and then you have a waterfall here. So I left the waterfall pages blank so that you could put your pictures on here, and then you have another page down here, or another space where you could do a lot of things with. You could add a little pocket if you wanted to and put some tags. You could put a full photo in there, whatever you want. So that's that particular closure, and it closes bottom first and then the top, and then these tags keep everything closed. This is one of the ephemera pieces from the Bits and Pieces pack, and then I got a couple stickers here. Okay, first page says Giddy Up. That's a sticker backed on some of the cardstock, and then it is open so you can put a picture underneath there. It opens up. Here's some of that coordinating cardstock I got in my design team package, and then you have this piece, Howdy, down here. You can put the picture down there. This is a sticker. It's just stuck to the top. It says Life is Better on the Ranch. So that's the first page, or the first side of page 1. The back of page 1 has this cute flip out here. So you can put a big photo here. Again, another cut apart. I should get a tag so I can show you this better than using my finger. So you can tuck a picture underneath there, and then you have the full page here. But then on this flip, you've got a pocket, and I put one of the 4x4 cut aparts in here. Big skies and wide open spaces. So that is that. The front of page 2 has a pocket, and I use the guitars here. Just loved that. And it says, if it ain't country, it's not music. Back that on a little bit of the coffee felt brown paper, and then just stuck it off to the side on here. And then I put, these were actually cut aparts. I made this one into a tag shape, and then this one here is a 4x4. And I did use an edge punch to get that scalloped edge on that. This is the back of page 2. So this piece here flips open. Oh, and I never put anything in there, so I will do that. So you've got a photo mat here, and then there's a pocket here. I totally forgot to put something in that pocket. But in this pocket, which is closed with this beautiful double-sided ribbon here, we've got the cowboy code here, and then this lifts up, and then there's a little pocket underneath here, and I put one of the little cut aparts in here, and then you could totally put a photo there. And then this just ties up like that. So I will get a cut apart or something in that pocket, I promise, behind. So it has that. All right, the front of page 3 has this flap here. Now I used one of the cut aparts here. I did cut it down a little bit on the sides, and then I used the pattern paper, and I sacrificed a couple cut aparts to get that to cover that. And then I have a photo mat here, and then the map paper here, and then there's a big pocket. And this is a Western Pacific telegram that came with the collection, and I thought that would be a great journaling piece. The pages themselves are 4.5 by 6.5, so you can use your 4x6 cut aparts really easily. All right, so on the back of page 3, we've got a couple things. So in the video, I'll explain all this, but this is quite a stacked configuration page. So front of page 3 here, the back of page 3 here starts off with a pocket, says Country Western here, and I put 2 of the cut aparts in there. Then I did use one magnet to close this, and then you have a pocket here, and then again I did use 2 cut aparts to put in that pocket. And then it opens up like this. You have these 2 cut aparts here. This is one of the tags from the Bits and Pieces. And then you have this flap here. Had to use the cows. And then here you have a photo mat opportunity. So I did do it so you could put a photo above and below. I just glued it right in the middle. And then it opens up, and you've got Home on the Range here. Again, more photo mats here. And that closes like that. Pocket here, I used one of the stickers with the truck here, and then this is one of the 4x4 cut aparts, and then that just closes like that. So this is the beginning of page 4 right here. So this is the first page of page 4, but it kind of ties into the back of page 3. So then the back of page 4, we have 2 diagonal pockets. I'm going to show you how to make those. And I'll show you how to cut these. And I want to show you right now before I get any further, because I forgot to put that in the video. So I'm going to do that in just a second. We have our cut-aparts here, so y'all can blame it on my boots here, and that says saddle up. So there you have that. So that's the pages. So the goof up that I did, page 1 was fine, page 2 was fine, page 3 was fine, page 4 was fine. When I got to page 5, I realized in the video that I forgot and didn't make the spine wide enough. And I usually make prototypes, and I didn't this time, and I definitely should make prototypes. So we added page 5 configuration to the back of page 3. So we didn't lose it. We're going to make it. We're going to use it. But we just added it to page 3. So that's why page 3 is kind of more bulky than everybody else. But we ended up using all the parts. So you'll see it in the video. But I'll show you how I fixed it. So it was great. So you don't have to widen the spine. And I didn't have to start all over again. So that was good. So then this is the back inside cover. And again, we've got the same closure piece. And I did put another little tag and another cut apart that I did skinny down a little bit. And then it opens up. You've got the cut apart here. Never let your head hang down unless it's to admire your boots. Then photo mat. And then the pocket piece here, photo mat. And then I used one of the cover pieces or cut aparts to put on top of here to start this book. Now, this is one of my never-ending album books, and I just glued it to the inside of the back page and then used this to keep it all closed. So I left the insides of this plain. I wanted space for photos, and I didn't want it to get too thick before you put your photos in. So I did leave the inside of this plain, but I did decorate the 1/2-inch hinges here, and I did use the bandana paper in this collection. There was a big 12 by 12 piece that looked like a bandana. I did cut all of the outer edges off and used those right there. Okay, and then this album also opens like so. Okay, so then that folds up, and this goes in here. So let me talk to you about how I did the pockets. So in the tutorial, of course, I'm going to go through the measurements, but I want to get a piece of paper and show you how I cut them out. I'm going to get a scrap piece if I can find one. I think this will work. Okay, so that's a scrap piece of paper for my stash. So the diagonal pocket here, when you measure the bottom of it, and now that everything is on here and it's thick, it's hard to get, but it's 4.5 across the whole entire triangle. So it's 4.5 by 4.5. When you cover a diagonal with your pattern paper, so you measure the pocket itself is 4.5. So what you want to do is take that down 1/4 of an inch. So you want to cut a square of your pattern paper at 4.25 by 4.25. Okay. Then once you do that, now this is the same paper. I'd use that square. So I use the B side here, and then I use the A side, the saddle side here. So this is just the same piece of paper. So the first thing that I did, minding my direction of my paper, is I cut the square in a diagonal. Okay. And that gave me the paper to cover this pocket perfectly and have it matted just perfectly. Okay, so that's where that piece went. And then this, the second pocket, measures 3.5. So what I need to do is cut this down a little bit. So I grabbed a pencil and my ruler, and since the pocket is 3.5, I'm going to have to cut this at 3.25. So what I did was I measured and made tick marks at 3.25 inches. Like so, and then I line those up and cut that off. Okay, and then that is how I covered that pocket right there. Okay, so that's how I did the covering for those pockets. I just wanted to show you that really quick. The other thing that I wanted to show you real quick is that when I did the pockets here, I talked about how I made the pockets in the video. From the outer corner, I measured in 1.5 inches and down 1.5 inches, and then I cut those off to make that angle, okay? So I ended up cutting off this piece of paper here. When I cut the pattern paper to fit, I used this, and what I did was if I get an example here, and I'll get another piece of paper to show you, and this is not to scale, but basically what I did was once I cut my pattern paper to fit that size, which, for example, this measured 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. So I cut my pattern paper at 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. Okay, that's how I cover it. So on the inside, I took 1/8 inch off of whatever the piece was covering, okay, for my pattern paper. And then I used that triangle as a pattern and use that to cut that angle off of the pattern paper. And then when I laid it down, I got the same angle as the pocket. Okay, so in the tutorial, I'll tell you to keep those triangles, keep these little triangles, because then you can use them to help measure your pattern paper and you don't have to do the measuring and everything. You can just line them up, cut them, and there you go. So I kept these just to show you, for example, those were the triangles that I cut off, okay? So I did the same thing. Where is that other angled pocket? Right here. I did the same thing here. So I kept it just so I could show you, okay? And again, all I did was take that corner that I cut off, and then I just lined it up on my pattern paper in the corner and just whacked it off, and that was it. So that's how you do that. All right, so that is my walkthrough for this album. We are going to get started on the tutorial. And then obviously, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I will be more than happy to answer them. I know that this tutorial was kind of had some fun with it. But I got it done. I got it done, and it turned out absolutely beautiful, and I think you're going to like it. So let's get started and learn how to make it. Okay, guys, we're going to work on the shaker that's going to go on the front of my album. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't do a lot of shakers. I know that some of our designers do a lot of shakers. I don't tend to do a lot of them. It came in my design team package. I'm going to challenge myself to try to use this. The other challenge is that it is a cowboy themed paper collection. So I was like, how am I going to use these, you know, in this? So the papers are gorgeous. So the cover paper for my album is going to be this beautiful floral. I love the floral. And then when I saw the cut apart that had the floral with the guitar and the cowboy hat, I was like, okay, this is perfect. This is going to work out amazing. So we're going to use this 3x4 cut apart for the shaker. It's going to be behind, and we're going to put the bits inside. And I did use the Espresso ink that came in my design team package as a distress ink. So I just got one of my sponges and dipped it in there, and then I just did distress the edges of this. And I'm going to use this for doing that, and it's working out really perfect. It is, no kidding, it does dry very quick, and it's working really, really well. So as a distress ink, it's working out perfect. So I have my 3x4 cut apart ready to go. Then I chose this teal colored coordinating cardstock that came in my design team package, and I'm going to use that, you know, on the cover, but I'm also going to use it as a frame for my shaker, and I think it's going to be absolutely beautiful. So I cut this at 3.5 by 4.5, and then I cut the frame out of the middle of it. Now I have a frame punch board by We Are Memory Keepers in my stash, excuse me, and I set it at 1/2 inch, and then I went in and I punched it and then cut out the middle of it. Now the middle piece that's left over is this. I'm going to save that, and I can use that for something else. I can back other elements or whatever with it. If you do not have this, then it's just really super easy to take care of this yourself. All you have to do is turn this piece that's 3.5 by 4.5 over, use your ruler, and you can either just go ahead and cut, or you can mark it with a pencil first and cut. But I did a 1/2 inch border all the way around, and then you can just cut that out. Okay, so this frame, again, 3.5 by 4.5, and I made a 1/2 inch border all the way around. And then I inked the edges of that as well. And then on the back side of it, I did put some Scor Tape because that's where we're going to need to add our acetate. So our acetate is here. Now this acetate, I did cut it 1/16 of an inch shy of 3.5 by 4.5 because I wanted it to not stick out from underneath the frame. And this acetate does have a nice protective film on it as well. So that is amazing, and it'll keep it nice. So what I'm going to do, and it's protected on the one side, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just wait to take that off for a second. And I'm going to use the side that doesn't have the acetate on it. I'm going to take my tape off. The Scor Tape will hold the acetate on very nicely. Okay, so I just put that all the way around. And then I'm going to take this and making sure that the film is on so I can take it off. It's on the outside, so I'm going to lay this down. Now, again, I cut it 1/16 of an inch shy of 3.5 by 4.5. And then I'm just going to lay this down and hopefully not goof it up, because I want it just inside of that frame so it doesn't stick out. And then I'm going to take, where did I put it? You guys always hide my stuff from myself. And I'm just going to burnish that down around the edges to make sure that there is a good stick around the acetate here. So I'm just burnishing right on the Scor Tape here. Okay. So that's the first step. We have our window now under our frame. Okay. Now I still have the film on there, so I do have to take that off at this point. Okay. So I'm just going to peel that off. It should come right off. Okay. And there is my window complete. Then what we need to do is we need to build it up with some foam so we have room for our little shimmers. So in my design team package, I did get the Craft Perfect dimensional foam pads, and this is also by Tonic Studio. These are 25 millimeters by 25 millimeters. They're 2 millimeters thick. Okay, so that's roughly an inch square for each of these little things. So what I ended up doing was I took, and I'm going to do it again with you, but I took one of the squares and I went ahead and I sliced it into roughly 1/4 inch lines. Okay. The backing on these is a solid backing. Okay. So this is going to be easy to go ahead and like peel off and stick on to my frame. Okay. Even though they're in squares. Hope that makes sense. So all I ended up doing, and I'll do this one with you, is just taking my craft knife. I'm going to just cut 4 of these off. Right like that. Didn't do that one very well. It did it much better when I did it off camera, of course, right? So then I'm just going to take my ruler here and I'm going to line it up and I'm going to hold it down. And then I'm just going to slice through and make that 1/4 inch, okay? I'm going to do it 2 layers high of the foam tape because I want it to be tall enough, because some of those elements are pretty thick and I think that they're going to be too thick for 1 layer of the foam. So that's why I'm doing this. And I'm just going to cut this last one. And there you go. So now I have strips instead of squares. Okay. So that's another nice thing about that, is it's very versatile. I can use it as super thick squares. I can cut them any way I want. And it's really easy to do that. All right. So now what we're going to do is take this and I'm going to take one of these strips, and you can see one of those strips is roughly 4 inches. So that's going to go right on the edge of that pretty nicely. Okay. And then the 3 inches should go, you know, we might have to trim it a little bit, but that should go on the top really nicely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the ones that are already cut. I'm going to take those pieces off. And then I'm going to lay this down like right on the edge, like so. Okay. Then let's see, let's kind of measure this, and we can go ahead and, well, let's put the other side down first. Let's just do that, and then it'll be easier to figure out. You guys, I don't do shakers very often, and I'm actually quite nervous about doing this because I don't want to mess it up. I really don't. I don't have a second set of papers in case I mess up, so I don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to lay this one down. And I know Jen does shakers all the time, Jen Palmer of Scrapping Under the Influence, and she makes it look so easy. And you guys, it's not as easy sometimes as she makes it look. All right, so what I'm going to do now is grab a pen, and I'm just going to put a little mark or something. Well, that didn't work out very good, but I can still see it. And I'm going to just take my craft knife and I'm going to cut that off there, and take off those pieces. Now you notice I'm taking the ones off, the perforated ones, because then I just have to do the strips, you know, when I do that. Okay, so that's going to go, and I want it to fit snug, and I want it to be inside the frame because I don't want it to show on the other side, right? So I want that on the inside, and that looks like that's going to work out pretty good. So I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to try to at least just make a mark so I know where to cut, and cut that, save these pieces for now. And you know, while I'm at it, I could just cut two of these. Well, I can wait. Okay. Here we go. All right. So hopefully I'm not screwing this up too bad. I don't think I am. All right. Last piece. And there's that. Okay. Like so. Okay. I think I did it. Looks like I did it. Okay. So one layer down, and then we're going to just repeat the process. So I'm going to take off my tapes, and you can see now all my little pieces here. Oh, all my fingernails are gone. You guys know that's my #1 tool, huh? All right, so we're going to repeat the process again. So I'm going to go around, I'm going to put this down, and then I'll come back because you don't need to see me do this a second time. I have 2 layers of my foam tape there, so I think that's plenty thick to be able to handle what's in the package here. So I have that all ready to go. And then, you know, I did very carefully run a little bit of my powder on the inside edges, and then I wiped it off with a cloth to kind of unstick the foam on the sides, on the inside. So I just kind of just ran it around real gentle, and then tried to clean off the acetate with the little residual powder that was left. So I was real careful about that. I tried not to go crazy, just because I don't want my shaker bits to kind of stick to the sides. I really don't like that. All right, so now let's open this up and make a mess. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make a mess. I'm going to make a mess. I usually do. Okay, so I'm just going to pour a little bit, and I'm already making a mess. I can see it. Pour a little bit in there. Get the ones off my desk, I think. I don't know if that'll be too much or not. I'm going to kind of try to really carefully kind of see how that's going to look. That'll be kind of cute. I think I might take out a little bit of the bubbles. I don't want too many of the bubbles, but I do like the stars. I want some of the bubbles here. You can use those for other things as well. You can use those for gluing down instead of enamel dots too. So those things are really kind of handy. Yeah, I think that might work. Okay, so I'm gonna put this back in here. And I know you guys are probably screaming at me because I'm like making this look like way harder than it is. Because like I said, I told you, I don't do a lot of shakers, so I don't have the technique down, but that's okay. I'm learning, right? We're all learning and we're all challenging ourselves to do new things, right? So, yeah, okay. So get those back in there and yeah, some of them. Here we go. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, so I got my bits in there, making it look really hard. I'm going to peel my tapes off, and now you can see why I wanted to keep the longer edges for last, because it's easier than with all these bits in here trying to peel off little pieces. Okay. All right, then I'm just going to turn this guy over and center it, and hopefully it will work. Like so. Ta and da. I'm gonna find stars for days. You know that? And there it is. So there's my little shaker element for the front. Isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, you guys, I did it. I did it. My little shaker element. Cool. That's cute. I like that. All right. So that's how I am making that. So I'm sure if you guys have hints and tips, please let me know. I'm sure I made that way more difficult than it needed to be. But, you know, hey, I'm learning. So, all right, let's get on with making the, finishing up the cover. Okay, y'all. So I have the cover done. We've already made our shaker, and we are going to do the lay flat method for our photo album. Okay, so I'm using heavyweight chipboard, and I've done it all ready for you. I'm going to give you the measurements, and then if you're not familiar with the lay flat method, I'm going to put a link in the video description down below so you can see my video on how to make this album. The lay flat method is an excellent method. It was created by Tammy Merrill, who is the leader and you know of Country Craft Creations. She is the owner, and she came up with a great method of wrapping these covers. And so I have a video that will show you how to do it step by step. You just need the different measurements for this particular size album. So that's what I'm going to give you right now. So I did use heavyweight chipboard. You will need 2 pieces that are 5 by 7. That's for the front and the back cover. 1 piece that's 2.5 by 7. That's for the spine. And then to cover it with the cardstock, you'll need 2 pieces that is 7 by 9 for the front cover and the back cover. 1 piece that's 5 by 9, that will cover the spine, and then 1 piece that's 5 by 6 and 7/8, and that piece will cover the inside of the spine, so it's all nice and wrapped and ready to go. Okay, so that is the measurements that you will need for that. Okay, so again, the lay flat cover method is linked down below, so you can see my video on how to put it together, and it works for any size album, and I talk you through the whole process. So real quick, I'm going to insert this piece into my tutorial because I want to explain something before we continue on. All of the measurements that I use in the tutorial to make this book, I'm giving you during the tutorial. However, later on, you're going to discover that I actually, for 5 pages, measured this spine wrong. So we're going to make the album as is with this, and I'm going to show you how I fix that. I'm going to show you how I use all the pages. But I wanted to give you measurements in case you would rather have a 3-inch spine that would accommodate 5 pages just straight across instead of what I'm going to end up doing to accommodate the fact that I did that piece too short. So I hope that makes sense. So I made 5 pages for this album. This is a 2.5-inch spine. And if you look at this drawing, if this is a cover and this is a cover and these are my 5 pages, you actually need a 3-inch spine. So in this tutorial, I did a 2.5-inch spine, which technically will only take, or, you know, cover 4 pages. So that all being said, watch the video and you'll see what I mean. And if you have any questions, let me know. So these were the original measurements that I gave you to make the 2.5-inch spine, and they're correct, for this. If you want a 3-inch spine, if you do want to make this wider so that you can have all 5 pages laid out, then you will need heavyweight chipboard that's 3x7 instead of 2.5x7. You will need cardstock, one that's 6x9 to cover the outside spine, and then one that's 6x6 7/8 to cover the inside spine. Okay, that's for the 3 inches, and that will give you the 5 pages all laid out. In what I'm going to show you here, we have our album, and it has 4 pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, because I added the 5th page to the back of page 3, and that will be explained more in the tutorial on how I fixed that, because I didn't discover it till I got to that part. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Watch the tutorial, it will make sense, and we do make it work because all 5 pages that we're going to create are actually still in the album. We just did it a little bit differently, but that's one of the beauties of this type of album with configuration pages, is that you can do them in multiple different ways and it still works, even though I goofed and made this particular spine a little bit too short. Okay, now the other thing that you can do, and I'll try to draw this out for you real quick, is if you make the 2.5-inch spine, and let me grab a big fat marker so it's easier to see. Here we go. So if you make your 2.5-inch spine, so let's say this is 2.5 inches, okay? What you can do is, normally what I do, if this is the cover and this is the cover, when you put your pages in 2, 3, 4, let's say, you have I usually try to do a 1/2 inch between each things. Okay, so that's why 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 halves is 3 inches. Okay, so that's where I should have had 3 inches. In order to make 5 pages, if you wanted to, if you make the 2.5, if you've already cut it, what you can do is nudge this over so it's a 1/4, and then you have a 1/2 inch between your pages. So that would be 1 inch, 2 inch, and then the 1/4s make 2.5. So I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to kind of help rectify the fact that I didn't do that part exactly right. But all that being said, that's a way you can fix it. Adding page 5 to the back of page 3, as I did in the tutorial, is a way to fix it. Or if you haven't cut anything yet, you can just cut your 3x7 piece of chipboard and just make a 3-inch spine, and then you can lay your 5 pages out just like normal. Hope that makes sense. Please let me know if you have any questions. Just wanted to throw this in here before we get going, but I'm going to continue with the tutorial as I did it with a 2.5-inch spine, and I'll show you how I fixed it when we get to that point. So then, that being said, with the cover, then the next thing that I did was put my ribbon on. Now I got this beautiful ribbon in my design team package, so I cut 2 pieces about 14 inches long, and then I just centered this, and I'm using the grid on my table at the 4-inch mark and put Scor Tape down. Okay, and then once I do that, then I usually put another piece or 2, depends, on top, just to kind of help secure that and make sure it's good. And then you can go ahead and cover the outside of your album. So I've already done this size as well, this side, excuse me, as well. So this piece is on, this piece is on. Again, each piece of these ribbons are about 14 inches long, and then I just centered them and stuck them down. Okay, and then you need to cover the outside of your album. So for this, because I'm doing a matte, I am going to go ahead and I want to show a lot of the cardstock on the outside cover. So when I do this, my usual MO is to cut the papers at 1/4 inch increments, okay? So meaning that if the chipboard is 5 by 7, then my first mat, which is this teal mat, is going to be, I'll put this down here for a second, which is the coordinating cardstock. My first mat will be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So that's a 1/4 inch less than the chipboard cover, okay? Because again, the chipboard cover is 5 by 7. So I did that. And then for the spine, I will do 2 1/4 by 6 3/4, okay? The pattern paper that goes underneath, again, is another 1/4 inch increment. So it's 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 for the cover, and then 2 by 6 1/2 for the spine. Now, what I did with the spine is I used the same piece of paper. I cut out the strip, and then I could cut out the pieces. All I did was reverse the spine, and that's what gave it the different look. So you can see it kind of has a beige here with the blue. Well, that blue pattern is the backside of this floral pattern, and the beige pattern is the backside of that teal, okay? So I just reversed the papers for the spine to get that effect, okay? But this is all one strip of each of those pattern papers, the blue coordinating cardstock and then the floral, okay? So these measurements will also be down below listed in the video description, because I always do that in my videos. I won't do a lot of the pattern papers because you may want to do it a little bit differently, but I will talk to you about how I do them during the video. But I definitely am going to put the outside cover and the cover information down there for you, okay? So all we have to do now is just glue these down. So that's pretty simple. I'm using the art glitter glue, and I love art glitter glue. I had not discovered art glitter glue until I found Country Craft Creations. I had another glue that I really liked, but I'll tell you what, the art glitter glue is far and away superior to what I was using. So that is exclusively the wet glue that I use. So yeah, I just love art glitter glue. And again, it is available at Country Craft Creations, and it is amazing. So do check it out. If you haven't used it, try it. It's great. It dries fast. It dries clear. It just goes on like a dream. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take that piece off, and then I'm just going to center this down. Now you can see that I did, you know, the 1/4 inch less gives you a nice 1/8 inch border, and you get to see all of the beautiful colors. Now the brown color here, I didn't talk about that. That is the felt coffee brown paper from Country Craft Creations. The Artisan cardstock. Gosh, I'm getting myself tongue-tied. I just got off vacation. I don't think I've recovered from it yet. So I'm just going to burnish this down. I'm using my new bone folder that I got from Country Craft Creations. This is one of the Tonic bone folders, and the more I use it, the more I love it. So that is something else that you probably should check out if you haven't already. This is going to be the base of the outside of my album, so it's all covered with the patterned paper. It's going to look really beautiful. And then all we need to do now, the last bit, is to place this on here. And I'm just going to center that right there, and then I can further decorate it later, but that's how I'm going to do the main decoration with the shaker that we just made for the cover. And I think that's going to look really, really nice. So I'm just going to, again, add my art glitter glue here to the back. And center that. And I'm going to move it so I can see it a little bit easier. And I'm just going to eyeball center this like so. Okay. Get that back in frame so you can see it, and kind of just press that down gently. And we're going to let that set for a while and dry. so that we can work on our pages, and then this will be nice and ready to go when we are ready to put our pages in our album. Okay, so there it is. And I think that's going to look absolutely beautiful. I love that. I love the floral behind it. Has the cowboy theme in the inside, but the floral behind it, and then with the shaker, I think that looks really, really nice. So I will definitely further embellish the outside of this, but that's what it's going to be like for now. And then we'll have our tie here, and then I'll tie in a nice bow and keep everything nice and closed. And yeah, I can tweak that in a little bit after I get my pages and stuff done, but there it is. Okay, so there's my cover, guys. All right, so let's start working on our pages. Now we're going to start working on the inside of the album. And I've done a few things already. I did put some pattern paper down for the inside spine, and then I chose the red checked pattern here for the inside covers. Now we're going to do the same closures on the inside front and the inside back, but we're going to have different elements on the inside. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to let you know is that I did put a warning at the beginning of the videos to kind of hold off on putting your shaker on until you're done with this inside part, because it's not going to really lay flat. So we're going to have to be a little bit more careful with that. You know, I'm going to work with it. It's going to be fine, but just an FYI for you. Already did that. So first thing we're going to need to do, I'm going to put this away for just a second and get out my scoreboard. We're going to need a few pieces of cardstock. So for the inside front cover, we're going to make a waterfall, one of my waterfalls, and we're also going to make this closure. Now this closure and the tag to close are going to be the same for the front and for the back. So this is for the inside front cover. For the waterfall, you're going to need two pieces. One is 3 1/8 by 9 3/4, and one is 3 1/8 by 8 3/4. Then the closure piece, we're going to need two pieces that are 3 1/8 by 4 3/4, and one that is 4 1/8 by 2 1/2. Then we're going to use a tag to close the pocket. I'm going to show you that in a second. It's going to make perfect sense here. So I did cut a piece of cardstock that was 2 7/8 by 4 1/8, and then the cut apart is one of the 3 by 4 cut aparts. We're going to trim it down just a little bit. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for that. Let's do some, well, let me show you what we're going to make. So this is the closure. We're going to do the same thing over here. The tags to close are right here. Okay, so this was a 3 by 4 cut apart. I just trimmed it down and I put it on the cardstock that was 2 7/8 by 4 1/8. And then I did ink it, and then I did add a little sticker at the top. And then I chose this out of the bits and pieces and put that in there as well. And then later on, I'm going to put some ribbon through that. Okay, so it fits in the pocket and it keeps this flap closed. And then you open, and then the element's going to be on the inside. Okay, so then you close it, and then this keeps everything nice and contained. And you can see I haven't finished with the pattern paper yet, but I wanted to show you that's what we're going to make on this side. So you're going to do the exact same thing on this side as we do on this side. Our waterfall, we're doing my stacked method, so we're going to put our 9 3/4 at the top. We're going to score at 4 1/8. We're going to turn it, score at 4 1/8, and you'll get that perfect little spine there. And then we're going to put the 8 3/4 in here. We're going to score at 4 1/8, and then we're going to turn it, score at 4 1/8. Okay, then we're going to need to do our pocket for the closure. Let's do that one now. So this is 4 1/8 by 2 1/2, so we're going to score at half, and then you do need to turn this one half and then turn it half, okay, to make the pocket for that closure. And then the two closure pieces, you're going to do these both the same way. They are 4 3/4 by 3 1/8, and on the 4 3/4 side with that at the top, you're going to score at half and 5/8. That's going to give you a little 1/8 inch kind of buffer to help fit everything on the inside. Okay, so you'll need two of those. All right, so let's get rid of our scoreboard. Let's grab our book. The first thing we're going to need to do is add the closures. So I'm going to take the two pieces that were 4 1/8 or excuse me, 4 3/4 by 3 1/8. And we're just going to fold and burnish on those score lines. And just be careful with that 1/8 inch there. Okay, there's one. And there's two. Then we're going to take our scissors, we're going to miter the 1/2 inch line only. I'm just going to do that. And one more. Just miter on that 1/2 inch. Don't go into the 1/8 inch, okay? That's going to be our gusset for the closures. And then what we're going to do is use our ruler and we're going to center these and then just glue them right to the edge of the chipboard, top and bottom. And actually, I'm going to do the top first, and then we're going to put the pocket on the bottom one, and then we're going to go ahead and do the bottom, okay? So let's get my centering ruler here. And you can see this is where we're going to have some fun here, because I did leave my shaker on, and it does raise this up a little bit, so it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can. I'm going to raise it up a little bit. I'm going to use this stack of chipboard pieces that I use for my envelope spacer. So I'm just going to center my cover. My cover is 5 inches, so I'm centering it with 2 1/2 on each side. Then I'm going to grab my piece here, and this will go right there to the top at about, let's see, 1 5/8, okay? And I'm just going to put it right to the top of the edge of the chipboard of my cover, okay? Just like that. All right, so that's that part. Then let's go ahead and add our pocket to this one. Now this one's going to glue to the bottom, so I want to make sure that my tab's at the bottom. I'm going to grab my pocket. I'm going to miter the corners. Okay, fold and burnish. Okay, so I have my pocket. Now the next step is to grab my envelope punch board. Now I did this. You can totally do this if you want to. You don't have to. You can use a circle punch, whatever. So this is 3 1/8. So if we center this, it's going to be right in between 1 1/2 and 1 5/8. So right in the middle. So like a 1/16 of an inch past a half. So I'm going to put it in my board here. And I'm going to line it up right in between 1/2 and 5/8. So I'm just going like in between those two lines. And I'm going to punch that, and that should center that pretty perfectly, okay? And then the next thing to do is grab your pattern paper that we're going to cover the pocket with. Now I cut these. All of this stuff on the inside is cut at 1/8 inch smaller than the piece it's covering. So since this is 3 1/8, I'm going to cut it at 3. And this is 2 inches, so I'm going to cut it at 1 7/8, okay? So this is 3 by 1 7/8. So since it's 3 inches, I'm going to line it up at the center at the 1 1/2 mark. That's half of 3, and I'm going to punch that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just re-ink that edge. Now, the ink I'm using, again, is the Espresso Fresh Dye ink by Altenew, and it's working really well for distressing the edges. So I'm really enjoying using it. It does dry really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that onto my pocket. And my little notches should line up pretty darn perfectly there. And then, I don't know if any of you have noticed, I'm not using my usual gauze. I did try something different. So Tammy from Country Craft Creations, the owner and our fearless leader, turned me on to cheesecloth or flour sack type towels. And so I did find some on sale at my local craft store, and I bought them and I cut them up into pieces, and they're working really, really well. I wanted to try it. It sounded like a great idea, and a great, you know, alternative if I don't have the gauze sponges that I usually use. So I started using those, and they worked out really good. So they're just flour sack towels, and I got them like in bulk. And they work great. They work great. They're not linty, and they work just fine. And she also says you can actually wash them and reuse them. So I think that's pretty cool. So I just cut them up into, you know, usual size. I think this was like roughly, what, 7 by 7, I think it is. And it worked out perfect. So they're working out great. Okay, pockets on the bottom. So then I'm going to take my little book here. I'm going to try to kind of make it so it's even here. Okay, I'm just going to use that as a spacer since I did put the shaker on the front. I'm going to line that up. I'm going to make sure I don't put glue in that 1/8 inch spot. Yikes. And I didn't even have all my caffeine today because I didn't want to get nice and jittery. All right, so I'm not using a ruler because I'm going to use the flap I've already added to help me line this up because I want that flap to be pretty perfect, okay? So I'm using that as my guide, and then I'm just gluing that down. And let's find my bone folder. Make sure it's nice and burnished. Okay, so now we have our flaps. So then it'll close with the bottom one first, then the top one, and then I have my tags. Whoops, turned off my light. I have my tags ready to go for this one. So I chose this one that says ride more, worry less, and then this one out of the bits and pieces that I got. And that will go in here, and that'll keep the flap closed. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add the pattern paper. So the chipboard that we're covering is 5 by 7. So the inside cover is 5 by 7. So this is 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And I'm just going to add that down. I've already pre-inked. This paper does scream to be inked, so I am doing that. And then I'm just going to lay that down, and it'll give a little bit of a border all the way around. I'm going to turn it a little bit so I can see, make sure we're good. There we go. Okay. Now, because the shaker's on the front, I'm just going to kind of lift it up and do it with my hands here because I don't want to squish my shaker either and ruin that. So far, so good. All right. Okay, that's that. Okay, so we're going to let that sit for just a minute, and then I'm going to grab the pieces for my waterfall. We're just going to fold and burnish, and I'm sure by now you guys have all seen, hopefully, how I do these. This is a method that I kind of stumbled upon. Love it. Did a big tutorial on it. I'll link that down below with also the link to the lay flat cover to show you how I do it. And then you can check it out. Okay. So we have the longer piece. We have the shorter piece. And the shorter piece will glue right inside the longer piece, and you're going to have a 1/2 inch gusset in between all of these pages. So what we're going to do is, there's 2 ways to do this. If you haven't seen it before, I'm grabbing my 1/2 inch spacer, and I'm grabbing my scoreboard, just like I show you both methods. Okay. So if you use your scoreboard, you can use this to line it up and make sure the edges go really well. And then you use the ruler down here. So this score should be at 4 1/8. So I want to go a 1/2 inch. So that would be at 4 5/8. And then that's where I'm going to lay down that next page. So that'll be a 1/2 inch away. And then you can see that the pages are a 1/2 inch kind of cascading. When this folds down, that's how we're going to do the thing. So you can do that. You can use a ruler, however is more comfortable for you. The other method that you can do is use your spacers. These are also by Country Craft Creations, and they're awesome because you just put them in here, you line it up with that score line, and then you just glue it down. So I'm taking the smaller piece, putting glue on that 1/2 inch, and then I'm just going to lay that down right up against that spacer and make sure everything's nice and lined up. And there you go. So I'm going to burnish that down, and then I'm going to flip those 2 pages over and then make sure that I don't have glue seeping out where I don't want it, because then it'll glue your pages shut. Okay, so that is your waterfall, like so. My vision was to use cut-aparts on here. That's what it looks like from the side, but we're just going to make it flat. And then we're going to use this 1.5 inch space here, and that's how we're going to glue it into our book. So the only tricky part about doing this is that we need to get it centered, and it is the same width as our closure, okay? So when this closes, you're not going to see the waterfall underneath, but then when you open it up, you're going to have a nice little surprise, okay? So we need to be careful with that, and there's a pretty good way of doing this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I put glue on that piece. I'm going to fold this up, and then I'm basically eyeballing this to get it right nice and centered, and I'm lining it up. Now it's not going to be gluing to my closure, but my closure was helping me guide. That's what I wanted to show you, okay? And then I'm going to flip that up. Again, I'm trying not to squish my piece underneath, but then there is your waterfall. Okay, so you have 4 pages, which is 8 photo opportunities. You have another big opportunity here, and then it closes up. The bottom comes up. Okay, the top goes down, and then our little tag pieces will go inside and close that up. Okay, so that is that part right there, and we're done with that except for decorating. Now the second side here, oh, one more thing, I did choose a cut apart for that, so we'll go ahead and put that on now. I chose this one, Wild Wild West. We'll put that on, and then that part will be done for now, and then we'll go to the back inside cover, and I'll show you the element we're going to put on there. I'm going to just put that like that. It's 3 by 4. These pages are 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. So this covers perfectly, and it gives us that nice border of the brown coffee felt. Okay. So again, and then you have a photo opportunity here. You have a photo opportunity here. I mean, there's just lots of opportunities. So that's kind of a fun little way to close your waterfall there with the pocket. Okay. Next thing is here. So again, I've already created the tags, and I've already created the closure. So it's the same exact thing, centered the same exact way. But we just need the element for the inside. So we're going to grab that, and I gotta find it. Here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a never-ending album. Okay, I've done these before, and they're just really fun to do, and they create a lot of opportunity for things. So this is for the inside back cover. So for the never-ending album, you'll need 3 pieces that are 8 by 6. And then the closure pieces, again, you will need 2 that are 3 1/8 by 4 3/4. Do them the same way as the front cover. 1 that's 4 1/8 by 2 1/2. That's the pocket. You have the cardstock tag piece that's 2 7/8 by 4 1/8. And then you have that cut apart. Now the cut apart, I did trim down, and I don't think I told you this, but I trimmed down an 1/8 inch off each side, which made it 2 3/4 wide. And I didn't trim anything off the height. Okay, the tag is 4 1/8. The cut apart is 4 inches, so that made it perfect. But if you trim the cut apart 1/8 of an inch on each side, it narrows it to 2 3/4. Okay, and then the cardstock for the tag is 2 7/8, so that gives you the perfect matting for that. All right, so your 3 pieces of your cardstock for your never-ending album, each one, well, 2 of them are scored the same and one of them has a couple extra scores. So you're going to put it with the 8 at the top. So it's 8 by 6, all 3 pieces scored at 4. So you're basically scoring it in half. Okay, 2 of those, like so. Then the third one, what you're going to do, you're going to score it down the middle at 4, just like we did, but then you're going to turn it over because I want the score lines to go the proper direction. You're going to score at 3.5 and 4.5. So you should have 3 scores in the middle, 2 on one side, 1 on the other, 3.5, 4, 4.5. Okay, so folding and burnishing all of these lovelies. So we're going to score down the middle at 4. Now this is the one we have the extra scores. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that back like so on both sides. Okay, so you have kind of a W shape now. All right, and then these 2 we're just going to fold in half. Like so. All right, so to put these together, you're going to take the 2 that are folded in half and you're going to put those on the right side standing up just like this. Okay, these little 1/2-inch scores are the only thing that's going to be gluing this thing together. They fit inside that card like that. We're going to put glue in there and we're just going to glue them in so that they're attached to the other 2 cards. Okay, it's easier for me. I kind of open these up, I line these up, and you can put glue in here. Now you got to be careful, don't get too much, because I don't want it seeping out and getting on the pages and gluing the pages stuck. I just want it down the center, not in any scores. I just want some glue down the center. I just want to glue these pages together. That's all I want. I don't want to get anywhere else because this is going to end up opening flat. Okay, it'll make sense in just a second. So line these up nice and straight, and then it's usually easier for me if I just kind of tuck those into that groove and then close it all up and press it with my fingers at first. Okay, and then I'm going to open it. Here's that score. Let's burnish it. Let's open it up and burnish it. Make sure we have no glue seeping out. Okay, we're going to turn it. Here's the other side. And then burnish it. Okay, now I call it a never-ending mini album if you haven't seen this before, because of the way that it's glued together. It just kind of keeps going. So you open it and then you have this flap here, and then you turn the page. Then you have a flap here, and then you turn the page. Here's the back of that assembly, and then here is that middle section that I told you about. We need to make sure there's no glue, which I didn't do a very good job with, but we're gonna fix it. Whoop. Okay, like so. Okay, so there's the middle, and then here's that. Okay, so that is the never-ending mini album, and then you just need to cut pattern papers for this. Now for the full-size pages, these measure 4 by 6, so you're going to do 3 7/8 by 5 7/8. For the half pages where you have that extra score, these ended up being 3.5 by 6, so you will cut your papers at 3 3/8 by 5 7/8. Okay, so for both sides of that, and then you have these 1/2-inch pieces. Now, like we do, like with waterfalls and pages and stuff, you would cut strips that are 3/8 inch wide to cover that. Okay, that's all you got to do. All right, and one little hint that I can give you is these branding strips usually measure about 3/8 inch wide. So you can save those and trim those out and use those as decorative borders. So that's a little hint. Don't throw these away till you're done with your project, because on one side they always have a pattern on them. It shows you what the opposite side looks like. So you can use those for that purpose, or the waterfalls or the pages or whatever you want to do. So that's kind of a hint. Okay, so here's our book. Okay, Then we're going to grab our album. Basically what we're going to do is just glue it to the inside here. You can use a never-ending album in and of itself, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going. If you want to use it in a, you know, project, which is what I'm going to do, we're going to glue it down so it'll open like that, okay? It'll open like that, and then once you close it, then you can also open it this direction. So we're going to sacrifice one piece, but that's it, okay? So this will be fun. You can also, if you want, I'm not going to do it on this one because there's not a whole lot of gusset here. There's only 1/8 of an inch, and I don't want to make it too bulky, but you could glue this down on 2 sides so that you could create a pocket, or glue it on 3 sides so you can create a small pocket. Those are the options that you can do to kind of add more space. If you do make a pocket, then it does, you know, help with the sacrificing of this last page. But I've also made these as an album in and of itself, and they work great. So again, I'm just going to eyeball center this. Should be about 1/2 inch on all sides. And voila. Okay, I'm going to open that to the last page. Burnish that down. And there you go. Okay, so then this opens first, or it closes first. I'm getting tongue-tied. And then that closes, and then you have your tags that keep everything else nice and tucked. Now what we're going to do is work on the pages. So as I mentioned when I did the walkthrough, this came about because Marilyn B., one of my subscribers, asked me if I could do a configuration album using 8.5 by 11 inch papers. And so that's why the album is this size. I cut down the coffee felt brown into 8.5 by 11 inch pieces, and we're going to do a configuration album page with this. Now, what a configuration page is, in my definition, is that we're going to score these, and you can fold them in different ways so that you can get different things. So 3 pages are actually going to be scored the exact same way, but it's just a matter of how you cut and fold on the scores is what is going to make you different pages, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 that are going to be configuration pages with the same scores, and then I have 2 more that we're going to score a little bit differently, but I'll show you what those do. So we're going to start with page 1. So again, this is an 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper, and we're going to start by scoring with 1/2, 3/4, and 5 1/4. Okay. The 1/2 inch is to add to the spine of your book. The 1/4 inch is the give space so that your pages turn nicely. And then here's your page. And then here is where we're going to use these particular elements to create different things, different flaps, different pockets, all that stuff. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is grab your scissors and, we got to turn it. Okay. So then we got to turn it. We're going to score at 6.5. Okay, so your pages, your actual page size will be 4.5 by 6.5. Okay, and then the rest of this is to make the other things. So you don't have to add extra pockets. You don't have to do all that kind of stuff. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut straight at that 6.5 mark through the first 2 scores only, because this is your attachment to your spine again, and then here's your give space, okay? And then we're going to cut this slit here, but we're going to cut the score out. So I'm looking at it, and I'm just trying to cut out a sliver here, which cuts that score out, and then it's going to help everything kind of turn a little bit better as well. So I'm just cutting out that score. It's just going to be just a little teeny tiny nothing of a piece. Okay, so at this point, this page will fold to the front, and that is going to create a flap. Now the flap, you can do different things with all of these. I'll talk you through that in just a second. So that is the flap for the front page. Now the other parts are going to be turned to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to flip this up like that, fold and burnish, and then this side is going to flip in. Okay, so what you can do with this, there's lots of options. So I still have this on here. You can cut this off. We can create like a flap that opens to the bottom. It will stay closed with the page. And then you can create a pocket out of this, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so again, we have this piece cut. So this will flip to the front, and then this is going to flip to the back. Okay, so here's your front, here's your back. So the front part is essentially done. We're gonna just keep this as a flap. But again, if you want to, you can glue things shut and create pockets and all that stuff. So back here, I'm going to make this right here a pocket, and then it's going to be a flap that goes down. So I don't need this bottom section of the binding and the give space scores. I don't need that. So I'm gonna cut that out. Now, if you want to make this a pocket, you can totally fold that in and then use that to create a pocket. We're going to do that later, okay? So there is that. So that's just going to be a flap that opens up, and then this is going to be a pocket. I'm going to, on this little flap here, I'm going to measure in 1.5 inches from the top right corner, and then 1.5 inches down from that top right corner, and make a little tick mark. And then I'm going to eyeball it, but you can use a straight edge if you want, whatever. And I'm just going to cut that off. And then that's going to create a cute little tag pocket. Now there's another option. Since we're going to make it a pocket, you can do two things. You can just simply glue that down and then you're done. Okay. And then that pocket will be done, and then you have your flap. If you do that though, the one thing that you do have to do, let me get my other eraser because this isn't working very well. The thing you have to do is cover this with pattern paper first, because a lot of that pocket paper, or that back is going to show. So you'll have to cover it with pattern paper first and then glue that down. If you want to just create the pocket and then come back to it later, you can do another thing, which is make a bunch of construction strips. Now, I had 1-inch strips left over from cutting my papers into 8.5 by 11. So the 11-inch created a bunch of 1-inch strips. So you can make construction strips. You just score down the middle of that 1-inch strip, and then you have places where you can add pockets to things. Okay, so I'm going to do that so I can come back to this and show you the construction, but I wanted to talk you through all the things. So this is 3 1/4. So I'm just going to take this little construction strip. I'm going to cut it just shy of 3 1/4 because I want to make sure it fits in there. Okay. Then I'm going to miter those corners. Okay. So I basically made like a tab. Okay. I'm going to glue this to the inside of that pocket. Like so. Making sure it fits perfect. All right. And then that way, so when you do this, then when you glue that down, you can come back and look at how you're going to do the pattern paper later. Okay. That's why I'm doing this. Now, the one thing you do need to do is that when you put tags in your pockets, you know, the tape trick that we've been using to put, you know, so when our tags go in, they don't get caught up. Well, on this side here, it may get caught up. So I am going to actually put some tape on there first. So that's the inside front of that pocket. But because that little extra tab is there, it can kind of tie up your tags. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down so that when I glue that down, pattern paper is going to go in. It's going to cover the other side of that tab. So I don't have to worry about putting tape on that other side. Okay. But the front part of the pocket, that's where you could have some issues. Okay. So now that I've done that, I can go ahead and glue this down. And then I can come back and put pattern paper and everything on later. Okay. So now again, if you want to make this into a pocket, construction strips, use the extra piece here and fold that in. You could create a pocket here. That's another option. That's why they call this a configuration album, because there's different options that you can do. There's all kinds of different ways to do this, okay? So that is page 1. Now we'll fold and burnish our binding strip, okay? And that 1/4 inch just gives it a little extra space. When you add elements and things like that, it just makes the pages turn nicer, okay? So there it is, okay? That'll be your page. So front has a flap, back has a flap that opens to the bottom, and then you have a pocket here, okay? So that's page 1. I'm going to put that in my pile, and then we'll go on to page 2. Now, and actually, no, let's do this. Let's go to page 3, because page 3 is scored the exact same way, but we're going to fold it different, okay? So I wanted to kind of show you that what I'm talking about with the configuration pages, okay? So this is actually page 3. We're going to label this as page 3, okay? So please do that. You can take a pencil, put a 3 on there so you don't forget, okay? We're going to put it in 8.5 at the top. We're going to score it the same way, at 1/2, at 3/4, at 5 1/4. You're going to turn it, and we're going to score. The binding piece should be at the bottom at 6 1/2, okay? So on this one, what we're going to do, we are going to create a pocket with a flap and then a flap to the back, okay? So on this one, again, we're going to cut here, because we got to cut straight through, or not straight through, but through the 1/2 inch tab and the 1/4 inch tab, okay? We've cut here with the binding strip, okay? Then we're going to cut this score out again. So we're doing the same, pretty much the same cuts, but we're going to fold it different. And that's what I wanted to show you with these configuration pages, because you can make all kinds of different combinations. So I love doing these and figuring out new ways of creating pages. It's kind of fun. All right, so I'm taking that little piece out. All right, there it is. Okay, so on this one this time, the flap's going to go to the back, like so. This bottom piece is going to fold up, like so, and then this piece will fold to the front, and that's going to make a little flap. Okay, my 3 isn't showing, so we'll put 3 up there. So I'm going to create a big pocket out of this and then have a flap here, okay? So I'm going to use this binding strip. So I'm just going to go through and just miter that bottom section, okay? So if you open that back up, we've got the binding strip for our spine, okay? And then we're going to use this piece to make a pocket. So we're going to just do that. We're just going to fold it to the inside, okay? And we can use the whole 3/4 inch piece. It's not going to matter, okay? Then what we're going to need to do is add a strip back here, okay? So this pocket here measures 4 1/2. So I'm going to grab another binding strip, cut it to just under 4 1/2, just under a wee smidge. All right. And then I'm going to miter that. Okay, we're going to add this to the bottom pocket here. Turn it sideways so I can see right to the edge where I'm going to add that. Okay, now again, you could have just glued that up, but you have to cover this first. So if you want to kind of go back and then add pattern paper later, this is the way to do it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add tape again to that inside pocket, just in case I don't want to use a full piece of paper to go in that entire pocket, you know, so that it doesn't snag up on my tags, okay? So now I have the inside of that pocket is nice and smooth. So when I put my pattern paper in, if I don't go all the way covering that tab, then it's not going to be an issue. And then those pieces can glue up like that, okay? Now, if you want, and this is another thing to do, if we're gonna save paper and not put pattern paper all the way in that pocket, the first thing to do, add a little piece of tape to that inside of the tab so that when you fold it over with the glue, you're gonna have that covered, okay? So we'll just do a couple more here. Oops, cut that one too long. Cut that off a little bit. And try and get it off my finger. Come on. Okay, there we go. All right, so when I fold that over, now the sticky side of the tape is up, and when I glue it down, everything will get glued down nice, okay? Hopefully. Wish me luck. So I'm gonna put glue on that tab. It's a wider tab because we just used the binding strip piece, right? That was on the bottom of the page. We just utilized it. And I'm gonna fold that up. There we go. And glue that down. So now all my tabs on the inside are covered so that if I don't want to put pattern paper all the way down to the bottom, we should not have any problems with that. All right. So then this page here will have a pocket, a flap, and then back here we have another flap. Now here's another option for you. You can put binding strips here, create a pocket here. You can put a binding strip down here and then cut an angle and then have an open side pocket here. Options are yours. Right now I will go ahead and I'm going to leave it as a flap. So page 3, front, flap, pocket, flap on the back. All right. So that is page 3. The last page that is scored the very same way is page 4. This one's going to have a flap with a pocket to the front, and then we're going to do a diagonal pocket on the back. So again, this one is the last one that's scored the exact same way. So 8.5 at the top, score it half, 3/4, 5 1/4, turn it, score it 6.5. All right. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to again cut straight up through the 1/2 and the 1/4 inch like that for the binding piece. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this score line instead of this score line. So just this score line on the edge here. And again, we're going to cut that score line out. Okay, it's that little piece. Now, I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to fold this up, and that is going to create a small pocket on that flap. Okay, take that off. Okay, so there's that. This is going to be a tall, skinny pocket. You have options here. We can make it just a plain, tall, skinny pocket, or we can just put a tab on one side and then have it as an open pocket and then cut another angle, and then that way you could put a bigger type of element in there. And you know, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to fold that there. So for now, that's the plan. And then we're going to flip this guy to the back and turn it over, and what we're going to do is create a diagonal pocket. Now you can do the diagonal pocket if you want to do it so that it's open to the outside, that's great. But if you want to do it so it's open to the inside, that's what I'm going to do, because then my tabs or my tags won't flip out of the pocket. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to cut that off. All right, so I'm going to cut that binding strip completely off. Okay, so we have this, and then I'm going to cut this at a diagonal. Okay, just at a diagonal. So I'm going to use my cutter this time, And again, so here's the back of the page. This is page 4. I'm going to cut from this pocket corner here to here. So I'm just going to line that up in my cutter, and I'm going to not get my binding strip, okay? So I'm going to line that up just like that. Don't cut your binding strip. I'm going to cut that piece completely off, okay? Like so. So now what I have is a triangle that goes like that, okay? I'm going to put another binding strip piece here, or a construction strip, and I'm going to cut it. It's about 4.5, so a little bit less than 4.5. And we might have to trim it up just a little bit because of that angle. That's okay. All right. So I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm going to miter. Okay, and lay that down. All right. So we'll go ahead and glue that. My poor hands are so dry. It's ridiculous. I was on vacation. I don't know if anybody's noticed. I was on vacation. I have severe like skin allergies, and I could not control a lot of the soap that I ended up using when we were out and about. So my hands are for a ride, but they look way better than they did. All right, so there you go. So there's that. That tab is going to go there. I've trimmed off the corners there. So we're going to, again, put tape here. So the inside will be nice and covered so that our tags won't get stuck, okay? So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put this down. Now we are going to have to basically put pattern paper through the whole page here, so I'm not going to worry about putting tape on that tag, or tab. I'm getting tongue-tied. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about the tape on that one. I'm just going to fold that up. Okay, like so. Okay, so now we have this nice pocket. This is the triangle that we cut off. Take this, stick it in your scoreboard. We're going to score it half. Turn it, score it half, and you have another pocket. It's going to be layered right there, okay? So we're going to, I'm going to fold and cut that, and I should do it on camera, right? Fold those scores and cut that angle, and then that'll put the tags, or put the angle correct. And then I can't talk. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Okay, I was up late last night. Last night was 4th of July. It was fun. It was great, but I was up way past my bedtime. We went to a dear friend's house for a steak and corn on the cob and salad dinner. We had strawberry blueberry shortcake for dessert. We watched Yankee Doodle Dandy, which I had never seen before, and oh my goodness, that was an excellent movie. And then we shot off a few legal fireworks in Oregon. The ones that go up in the air are not legal, and we did not do that, but we did do a little bit of the ground stuff. So, and then trying to get home was a bear. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. There's a bridge in our town, the Markham Bridge. People actually stopped and blocked 3 lanes of traffic because they got out of their cars to watch the fireworks show in downtown Portland. And it was scary trying to get home last night. All right. So there is your pocket. So now you have a diagonal pocket here and you have a diagonal pocket here. Okay. We used all the pieces. Okay. So binding strip again, we'll go ahead and, or not binding strip, the binding strip for our book here. All right. All right. So now we got to work on this thing here. So what I'm going to do is the same thing I did before. I'm going to measure about 1.5 inches from the top left this side. Where is 1.5 inches? Right there. And I'm going to make a tick, and then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches from the top left on that little corner pocket there, or the little, you know, front pocket. Okay. I'm going to take my scissors, cut that off. I'm going to save this, and I'll show you why later. Okay, so now we have a little angled pocket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of the construction strips here and close that pocket. That one's not quite big enough, so let's grab another strip. This pocket is 4.5. So I hope you guys had fun on your 4th of July. I had a blast. It was really, really fun. Getting home wasn't fun, but we got home safe. I didn't see any accidents, thank goodness, because I was really kind of getting nervous. I thought we were going to have an accident because we got over that entrance to the bridge and then it just stopped and people were like not even in lanes and there were no hazard lights on a lot of the cars, and it was just like I could not believe that that was happening. I had no idea. I had no idea. We learned a valuable lesson, and we, you know, normally don't go out on 4th of July. We just normally stayed home. But we got the invite. We haven't seen our good friends in so long that we wanted to go, and oh my goodness, we'll have to remember that for next time because we'll have to take a different route. That's for sure. I couldn't believe it, you guys. I just couldn't believe it. So dangerous, so dangerous. I did not watch the news this morning, so I don't know if anybody did have an issue, had a problem, got in an accident, but I would not be surprised. Okay, tape on the inside tab of that pocket that we're going to fold up. Okay, there you go. Okay. All right, so that's the last page doing that fold. So you have the front page, has a flap, and then you have the pocket. We'll go ahead and erase our tick marks here. All right. Then you have your back page here, and it has 2 diagonal pockets here. All right. So that is page 4. Okay. So page 4, you can write that down. Make sure you got that. All right. So then the last 2 pages are going to be done just a little bit different. Page 2. This is going to be the second page of our book. All right. So we're going to mark it 2. We're going to start actually with it at the 11 at the top. Okay. This is going to be a different fold, different scoring. It's going to be really fun. So what we're going to do is score it half and 3/4. So that's pretty standard for all of our things. So binding strip, give space. Then we're going to move over and score at 5 1/4. Okay. That's going to give us our page. Okay. Then we're going to go over here to 9 1/2 and we're going to score that all the way down. Okay. Then what you're going to do, you're going to turn your album, or turn your page, and we're going to score. Now this is going to be different. So we're going to go down. Let's start here with the 6 1/2. We're going to score that all the way down. Okay. That gives us our page right here. Okay. But this score here, we're only going to go to the score mark that we made at the 5 1/4. Okay, so one of these score lines has to stop. So this score line stops. So we're going to go at 3 1/4, score through that first one, stop at that second one. So you're only going to go to right there. Okay, this one at 6 1/2 goes all the way through. So once you have that done, we're going to do our straight cut for our page. Okay, so right here we're going to do a straight cut there. We're going to cut here and here. We're going to cut those scores out. Okay. And then we're going to do the other score. Cut that straight up. Cut that score line out. So that just take that wee little sliver out. Okay, so you should have a cut here, and then the top 2 cuts. Don't cut this one here. We need this one intact, okay? Then we're going to cut out these 2 boxes here. So just cut those completely out. I'm saving all my pieces, my little extra bits, because you can back stickers with these to help make embellishments, all the things. So, okay. Okay, I'm gonna save those here. Okay, so now you should have a piece that looks like this. Okay, sliver here, straight cut here, cut these out. All right, so for the front of the page will have a short pocket. So we're gonna fold that up. Okay, we're gonna utilize this to help create that pocket. So I'm just gonna tab that bottom piece out like so. Okay, and fold that to the inside, and that is going to help us create that pocket. Okay, so we'll use that to glue down, and we'll make use a construction strip on this side. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to just fold that piece over to the back. So here's what we're going to do with this. You can do it either way you want. This is going to create a pocket, and these are going to create pocket and a flap. So we're going to fold that bottom one up. We're going to fold this top one down. Okay. What that is going to do, once we get the construction strips in there, is it's going to create a little pocket here. Or you can just use it as a fold out and do it that way. Okay. So the choice is yours. Or, well, and then turn it over and flip this little part back, and that'll create a little pocket here. Okay. So that's how you do that. All right, so let's do this again. I'm going to open it all up. We have all our pieces cut out. Okay, all of our pieces are cut out. So first thing, fold that flap in to help make a pocket on the front, and that folds up. And then this whole piece folds to the back. Turn the page. This will fold up, down, and then it opens, and then that folds in, and then that's going to create a pocket here. So you're going to have a little pocket flap area here, and then you're going to have a pocket here, and then you're going to have this big page here. Okay, so to finish this, we are going to just glue this, but we do need to make a construction strip. So let's grab one of our little pieces here, because we've been cutting off some little pieces, and this pocket here measures 2 inches. So we'll cut the 2 inch here. Okay, we're going to add that here. Then I'm going to turn this over. We need 2 more pieces there. So I'm going to cut another 2 inches, and I'm just going to use this as a guide. And then I'll put it all together because you've already seen how I do it. Okay, so I don't think you probably want to watch me do this again. Save a little bit of time on this video. So I need 3 total at little less than 2 inches for the front pocket, and then for this pocket right here. Okay, so I have 3 of those, and then we're going to fold this back, and then we're going to need 2 little pieces here, and those measure 1.5 inches. So we'll go ahead and cut 2 just shy of 1.5 inches for that. And then if you want to get fancy, you can also use, your envelope punch, and you can make a notch here if you would like. I haven't been doing that, but you know what? We could kind of make this one a little bit more fancy if we wanted to. So yeah, we could do that before we glue everything up. We could put that in there. Now this measures like 4 1/4. So we'll go to 2 1/8. That should be right in the middle. We can punch that. So now when we glue that pocket up, we do have a little pocket tab here. And then the bottom one here, this measures 3 1/4. So that would be 3 1/4 would be 1 5/8 would be the center. And punch our little pocket. Okay, and then we can add the little tabs, and then we'll have little fancy pockets. Okay, so that's how we're going to do that. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put all this together, and then I'll come back and we'll do our very last page. Okay, I'm back. I finished putting the, you know, tabs on my pockets, and I did the whole tape thing like I said, you know, before. On this one here, I did something. I did add a ribbon closure to this little flap. I did decide to make this first part a little pocket, and I did edge punch. I got one of my old edge punches from my stash. You can use any edge punch you want. And I just did that, and it gave it a little decorative edge. It's going to show the pattern paper on the pocket behind, and then I added a piece of the double-sided satin ribbon to close it. And I haven't finished the ends yet, but I will. And then how I did that was I just wrapped it around the pocket. The pattern paper is going to cover it, so I'm not going to be super worried about that. And it'll be nice because then the ribbon won't be fighting with the pattern paper on the pocket or the flap here, and it'll just wrap around nice and it won't pull on it. Okay, so the pattern paper will cover it here, and then here is the pocket there. So that page is done. This is page number 2. Let's move on to page number 5. This is our last page, and again, we're going to do it in a landscape shape this time. And what we're going to do is grab our bone folder, and again, on the left hand side, we're going to score at 1/2 and 3/4 and at 5 1/4. We're going to go back over and go at 9 1/2. So you can see the first 3 pages were scored the same way. The second 2 pages that we're doing are scored the same way, okay, as far as the initial scores, okay? We're going to turn it, score at 6 1/2, okay? So this one's going to be a relatively easy page. We're just going to do a couple little things different. So what we're going to do is cut out this corner, cut out this score line, and we're going to do the same cut here for the binding. So I'm going to go straight up there, okay? And I'm going to cut this score out like so. And then we're going to cut this corner. Actually, yeah, we're going to cut it. Well, no, let's not cut it out. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's cut this straight here on the score. So we're cutting that score out. We're going to create a tab here. Okay. So I'm just going to, rather than add a tab, I'm just going to kind of freehand cut a little tab there, okay, and then just cut that piece out, okay? So this is what you should have so far, okay? We're going to utilize this for a tab. So I'm just going to cut through the 1/2 and the 1/4. So this should be straight, but then tabbed there. Do a little wedge there, make a tab here, and then that is straight, okay? So what we're going to do with this is we're going to fold this in like so. That's going to be a pocket. Now, if you don't want it to be a pocket, you can make this a flap and add stuff to it. Totally up to you. Okay. We're going to fold that in again because that's going to be a page flap. Okay. Then you have this bottom tab that we created. I'm going to fold that in, and then we're going to fold that piece up. So on the front of this page, we are going to have a pocket, a flap, and then a pocket here, okay? So that's what we're doing with that. And then when we turn the page over, that's where we're going to use this, and we're going to make another pocket, okay? So just another bottom pocket. We're going to fold that up. We will have to add a construction strip to that, okay? So I'm going to add a construction strip here to make a pocket on the back, and then I'm going to add a construction strip here to make a pocket on the front, and then I will do 2 here so that I can come back later and do the pattern paper, or like I said, you can make this into a flap and like add a piece of extra cardstock, or you can add pattern paper to it and make it another flap, so you can make it into like a trifold kind of thing. I think I'm going to make it into a pocket, okay? So I'm going to add construction strips here, okay? So I'm going to do that, and then once I do that, then page 5 is done. We're going to mark this page 5, and then we'll put them in to our album. Okay, so page 5 is done. I went ahead and fixed the pocket. I used the construction strip there, and make sure you do the tape on the inside of the pocket side so that your tags don't get stuck. I did construction strips here. So I cut them for this piece at just less than 1.5 inches, and then for the pocket here and the pocket here, they were just shy of 2 inches, okay? So, again, the front has the pocket here. You open it up, big page, pocket here, and then you have a nice pocket here, okay? So that's page 5. So now all my pages are in order. I'm going to double check and make sure they are in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got my book, and we need to add them to the inside spine, and then we're done. It's just a matter of putting on the pattern paper as we see fit. So I'm going to start with page 1, and this is the way that I do my L hinges, or some folks have called them waterfall hinges. I'm really not sure what the proper name is, but I really like this method. Then I don't have to do a bunch of scoring and putting a binding piece together. I have never had a problem with this binding system. It stays put. You do have to use wet glue. Do not use Scor Tape on this. Scor Tape does not dry completely, so it can over time wear down. So I have had problems using Scor Tape for like pockets and things like that, so that's why I don't use that anymore. I'm kind of real selective on what I use my Scor Tape on. Wet glue is the absolute best for this application, okay? The pages themselves are 6.5 tall, so you're going to have about 1/4 inch top and bottom, okay? And then the hinges are going to go about 1/2 inch in. So there's 1/2 inch space here, and then you have your 1/2 inch gussets where you're going to glue it down, and so on and so forth. And then you're going to have 1/2 inch on the other side. There's a couple ways to do this. However this works for you to line this up. This is a 2.5 inch spine, okay? So you can use your spacers. So like for Country Craft Creations, we have these 1/2 inch spacers, and you can use that to get started. And then that's the only measurement you have to do. You can use your grid here if that helps you. So you just have to line it up at the bottom of your book and then look at the marks and go from there, okay? You can do it that way too. However this works for you. But basically the first piece that you're going to lay down, page 1, is the most important, because you got to get that straight. You got to get that 1/2 inch gusset, okay? So if you're going to use your spacer, just go ahead and put that spacer in there, and you can put your book up so it's nice and straight. You can see through the spacer. You can kind of make sure that you're at the edge of your cardstock here, and then we should be good to go, okay? You just have to remember that you need to do 1/4 inch up, because there's going to be 1/4 inch space down here and 1/4 inch space here from your pages, okay? The other way to do it is use your ruler, and you can line that up. Now, I have a hard time seeing through this ruler sometimes, so what I will do is find the edge of my cardstock on my spine, and I will line that up to a line on my mat here, okay? And then I will use that to help me, to guide me to where to put my first page, okay? So whatever system works for you, that's what you should do, okay? So just a couple options here. So I have page number 1. We're going to glue on that 1/2 inch, not on the 1/4 inch, just on the 1/2 inch, okay? And again, wet glue is the best glue for this, in my experience, okay? So I'm just going to put that little caveat in there. In my experience, the wet glue is the best glue for longevity of these books, okay? Making sure that everything's lined up. So I'm using my grid here, and I've got it lined up so that my ruler is showing me where 1/4 inch is, okay? And then I'm just going to press that down, okay? And I can use this, and this is also absolutely perfect, okay? So it worked out just fine for that. So I'm going to press that down, get my bone folder, and I'm going to make sure that I burnish that pretty well. Where did my rag go? There it is. Found it. Okay. And I'm going to burnish that down really well, okay? All right, so page 1 is done, okay? Now, that little give space will give it a little bit of extra room for the pages to lay down. And I love that method, and this method works really, really well. You can use this L method works great with, I do it almost 99% of the time, and you can do it with any size, you know, length spine. You can do it with as many pages as you want. The only difference is the way you put the last page down, and I'm going to show you that when we get to it. Okay, so right now page 1 is here. We've got the 1/2 inch space here before page 1, and you get to see that beautiful paper, right? Page 2, we're going to fold that over again. So this is the front of page 2. We're going to put glue on the back here, just on that 1/2 inch spine. Then what we're going to do is we're just going to line it up. That's all you have to do, is just line it up right to the edge of where page 1 lined up. And then I finger press that down a little bit, go around, and then I don't want extra glue seeping out, so I'm going to wipe that up. Then I'm going to burnish it again, right? Make sure we got a good stick and we spread that glue. Okay, art glitter glue does dry fast, and it does dry clear, okay? Okay, page 2. Okay, page 3. Did I do this right? Okay, people, guess what? I just realized I made a goof in this album, but we're going to be able to salvage it. It's not going to be a big deal. But I just wanted you to be aware. We've been, you know, asked about how you fix your goofs. Well, I'm going to show you how to fix a goof. So we got a couple different ways we're going to do this. The first goof that I did in this album, and this is why I usually do prototypes, so I don't goof on camera, but today I'm goofing on camera, and I need to go back to making prototypes. But anyway, first goof was not to put your shaker on until you're done with the inside of the album, so you don't risk messing that up. Okay, so far I've done okay, and I haven't done that. But that was one thing. You can put the shaker element is in and of itself an element, so you can wait and make it and then put it on the album. Okay, so then the second goof that I just discovered as I was putting my pages in is that I made the spine too small for 5 pages. And I am completely not sure how I did that, but I did, and I completely apologize. But what we're going to do is I have made configuration pages where you kind of stack them together. So that's what we're going to do. We're still going to use all 5 pages. We're just going to do it a little bit differently. So we're going to have 4 that are going to be on the spine, and then we're going to attach the 5th page to one of the other pages. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So that's another option. I guess it is a goof. It is a goof because it's not what I intended to do, but it's another thing that you can do with these pages, which is kind of cool because you can kind of stack them together and make them really interactive. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So anyway, we're still going to be able to salvage all this. If you guys have been working with me, then you can do that. Now, if you have been just watching the video and you want to do 5 pages, just straight 5 pages, the spine does need to be 3 inches wide. Okay, so in that case, let me get a tag here so we can write this down. So if you want 5 pages all together, okay, so we have, if you imagine looking at our book from this direction, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's your covers right here, okay, and here are your pages. Okay, so 1/2 inch in between is actually 3 inches. Okay, so your chipboard would have to be 3 by 7 for the spine, and then your cardstock would have to be 1 at 6 by 9, and then 1 that is 6 by, what was it, 6 7/8. Okay, so if you want to have the spine for all 5 pages and just do them boom, 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 then that's what you're going to need. So that's not what I did. That is absolutely not what I did, but we're going to fix it, and I'll show you how we're going to fix it, and it's going to work out great. And I've done it before, so I know it's going to work out great, but I wasn't intending on doing that. So there you go. There's my goof, but I'm going to show you how to fix it. So we got page 1 and 2 in. Okay, page 1 and 2 are in. Page 3, we're going to glue that on like we would normally do. Just go down the line here. So glue on the 1/2 inch tab. And butt that right up against page 2. Finger press that down. Okay. Just like so, okay? All right, there's page 3. Now page 4 is going to end up being now the last page. And the reason why is because I want a 1/2 inch of the spine showing just like it does on the front. I'm going to take page 4, and page 4 we're going to glue on differently. So instead of folding this to the back, we're actually going to kind of straighten it up, and we're going to put glue on the opposite side and glue it straight down onto that 1/2 inch tab of page 3. And then that way when it turns, you're going to have that beautiful spine, okay? So we're just basically going to kind of reverse those folds like that, okay? And that's how your page is going to lay down, okay? And then it'll turn just like the other pages. So we're going to put that on the tab here, 1/2 inch tab, and then that's how I get the beautiful spine paper on both sides, okay? So I'm just going to lay that right on the 1/2 inch tab of page 3. Okay, and then ideally we would be doing this with page 5 because we would have a big enough spine, but since I goofed up and I'm showing you how I'm fixing it, it's going to work out just fine. Okay, so we have page 4 in, so now we have 4 pages, okay, and we have our spine paper on both sides. It looks really beautiful. It looks really clean. The pages have a little bit more room to move and to hold your stuff, and I love it, okay? When you close the book, it's going to look like that. It's going to be great. Okay, so page 5. We can use this tab to add it anywhere we want. So 4 pages are in, and I just went through and kind of looked at what I could do here, and I'm kind of eyeballing my pages and what would be a good, where would be a good spot to put it. So I've decided that what I'm going to do is on the back of page 3 where we have this flap, okay, that's all that's there, we could add it to that page. So page 5, I'm going to actually add it to page 3, and we're going to just add it to the edge of that page, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 3/4 inches that we had that we're actually going to adhere it to the book, and I'm going to tab that, okay? So I'm going to go through the 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch, okay? I'm going to fold that over, okay? Then I'm going to put glue on that whole entire 3/4 inch piece, and that's just going to glue it to the page, okay? And I'm going to glue it right to the top of that little half flap. And it's just going to create another element. That's all it's going to do. So that's the other cool thing about these pages. You can make more pages and just add them in here. So I'm just going to put that right to the edge of that page, okay? Get it in camera so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. So you see how it's on top of that flap that's on the back of page 3. Okay. A little bit harder to do once it's in the book, but you know, I'll put a disclaimer in, so you guys might want to watch this first before you make it. So what's going to happen on the book now? So we have page 3. We just added it to the back of page 3. So page 3 will have this flap and this pocket. And then you turn it over, it will have this flap with a page and a pocket. Then it'll open up like this, pocket, and then another flap, and then this whole page, okay? So we just added an element. That's all we did. So that is kind of the cool thing about these configuration pages, because you can just add them. So then when we close our book, that's what it's going to look like, okay? So we actually salvaged this whole thing. We used all the pages, even though I goofed and didn't make the spine wide enough. So isn't that cool? I mean, I think it's kind of cool. So I probably am going to have to add some sort of closure here, and I will get that figured out. So now that you saw my goof and how I put it back in there, here's what our album's looking like at this point. So here's our cover, and here is our first element. So we have the tags that hold this shut. So it's basically kind of like a pocketed belly band kind of thing. And then you have your waterfall here, okay? and then that closes like so, and the pocket goes in here. Then you have page 1, has a flap on the front, and then you have the pocket here, and then the flap that comes down. You have a pocket here. You have this fold out element, so there'll be a pocket here. You're going to put pattern paper over that ribbon, and then this will open up, and then you'll have a flap and then a pocket here. And again, if you didn't want to do the pocket, you can totally leave this as a flap. Okay, then on page 3, here's our funky page. We have the flap here, we have a pocket here, big pocket. Then we turn the page, and that's where we added page 5 element. And again, I'm going to figure out a closure. So the album is put together with all of my beautiful goofs, and here is the final thing. And I will have a walkthrough of the album with all of the pattern paper and everything in it to show you how I did it. So here is the shaker element on the front, and then it opens up. You have the tags here that keep this closed, and then you have your waterfall here. Then this closes, that closes on top, and then you have your tags that hold it shut. First page, page 1, has a flap on the front. On the back, you have the flap here, and then there's a pocket on top of the flap. Page 2 has a pocket here. And then the back of page 2 has a flap, and the seam binding here, I don't know if I told you this, it was 20 inches long, and I just wrapped it around that pocket. You have a little pocket here. Pattern paper is going to cover that, so you won't see it. And then the ribbon opens up here, and then our little pocket here. Okay, so super cute. I think it's going to be really pretty. And again, you can use any edge punch you want on the top of that flap. You don't even have to use an edge punch if you don't want to. So there's that. I got to finish that ribbon. Page 3, here's what I ended up doing. So I have the flap here at the front, and then you have the pocket, big pocket here, and then you turn it, and then we have page 5 attached to the top, or to the back of page 3 on top of the flap. So I did set a magnet here, so that will keep that flap shut, and then it opens up like so. You have a pocket here, and then you have the pocket. Now this, or excuse me, the flap. This flap is the one that was on the back of page 3, and we just attached page 5 to that because, again, remember, I goofed on the size of the spine. So there's your flap, and then here's your back of page 3, okay? So 5 and 3 are basically one page now, okay? They got married. Cowboy wedding. All right, page 4, you have the flap, and then you have this nice little angled pocket here that is open on the side, so we can put some bigger elements in there if we want to. And then the back of page 4 has the diagonal pocket, and it has a second diagonal pocket. And then on the very back cover, we have the same type of closure with the tags. And then we have it open up, open down, and then you have the never-ending element here, the never-ending album. And it opens like that. Lots of picture opportunities here, and then it also opens like that. All right, so then that does that, that does that, and those tags go in the pocket to hold it closed, and everything is good and happy. And then this will close, and then we'll have the ribbon closure here. I love this ribbon. I just think this album is turning out so pretty. So I'm going to put all the pattern paper in there, and then, yeah, it'll be done. So that's the end of the tutorial. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of goofed up on a few things here, but we fixed it. We did it. And it's beautiful, and I think it's going to work out just great. And we still got to use all the pieces. We didn't sacrifice anything. We didn't waste anything. I think it's going to be great. One last thing that I wanted to go over is that I decided to make some flowers to decorate the front cover of my album. So I do have some new dies that I bought from Country Craft Creations. I'm going to show them to you right here. They're Paper Rose Studio dies, and I got 3 of the different flower dies, and so I chose this one just to kind of play with. I hadn't used them before. They work really well, and they worked perfectly for this project. So I wanted something a little bit, you know, floral, because the front of the album has a floral theme to it. So what I ended up doing was just grabbing, after I was done decorating, a lot of my scraps, and I just punched out, or, you know, die cut out a whole bunch of pieces from different little tiny scraps that I had left over. Okay. So then I have these piles. Now I've already made 3 flowers and I have these 2 left over to make, and I thought I'd show you how I did it. So I'm going to make one with you. I punched out, you know, 1 each of those 3, and then I did punch out a bunch of the little circles. Now I didn't end up using a lot of them, but I did use a couple. So first thing that I did with this was I, you know, of course die cut them out, and then I inked the edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try to curve these little petals up a little bit, and I'm just using my bone folder to kind of give them a little dimension there. Okay, so I did that with all of them, and I'm just going through and doing that number. Okay, so with all 3 of my petals, they don't have to be super perfect. You know, they're flowers. Flowers aren't perfect. So then once I did that, then I grabbed my glue and I put glue in the centers, and then just go ahead and layer them. And again, I didn't really put a lot of thought into it. I just laid them down. Okay. And then once I did that, then I have all these centers that I die cut. So then let's pick, oh gosh, let's pick that one. Oh, the bigger one. Let's do the bigger one. So we could put that center in there like that. So I'm going to just hold that down for just a second. And while I'm pressing down and holding that, I can go ahead and just use my fingernails and just kind of, you know, still form the flowers if you want to form them a little bit more. Then I'm going to put another dot of glue here. I'm going to put another smaller circle in here. Maybe we'll do this one. Just kind of layer it up a little bit. You can do as many as you want. Now you can use the other little pieces that they have in here. Like they have, you know, these sizes. There's a couple different sizes. So you can, you know, just do what you want. But what I did was I took the Shimmerz pieces. Now I think I remember telling you that I would use these as an embellishment as well. Well, guess what? They make a really cute little flower center. So I'm just gonna, whoops, put that in there with a dot of my art glitter glue. And then just, I'm gonna press that down and then let that dry. And then I have this cute little flower. So that's how I made my flowers. Now I did cut out some leaves in different pieces as well. And then I'm gonna tuck those, you know, underneath the flowers once I get them on the cover. So you have already seen that, but that's how I made my flowers. Now I'm gonna keep these. I'll just make one while I'm talking. I'm going to keep these, and then with the leftovers that I have, I can go ahead and use these flowers for those projects. But basically, I'm just curving those up just a little bit. Okay, and I did, of course, ink everything, and then I don't have another center for that, but I'll dig that out later. But then again, I can use the other pieces too. Okay, so let me just put that there like that. Then let's see, where's my little guy here? I can put, let's do that one. Press that down. Put another one in here. Let's do the white. And then I can do one of the other fancier ones here. So that's kind of a different way to do it. And get that center in there, and then voila, you have a flower. Isn't that cute? Then if you layer them with the leaves, I mean, look how cute this would look like. So if you lay that down and maybe do something like that, and then lay your flower down, wouldn't that be pretty? Yep. So that's what I wanted to show you with that. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Have a great day. Again, this is Carta Bella Cowboys from Country Craft Creations. Go visit the website, get your papers, and thanks for watching. Stay crafty, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.